Good morning, everyone. My name is Amit Kumar, and today we will be discussing about the Mundell-Fleming's model in a fixed exchange regime. So we will be having a four-sector model. So four-sector model, wherein we'll be having our exports, imports, the government intervention, as well as the private players too. So this is the four-sector kind of model. So our economy, it is basically at a situation of recession, let us assume. So in this situation, recession kind of situation, what the government of India, it has asked the monetary policy in order to follow a expansionary monetary policy. It has asked the RBI, to do this kind of, to follow this kind of policy. So as shown in this ISLM curve, initially we can see that this is basically the LM curve. Similarly, this is the IS curve, which is having a downward sloping. So here we are having E naught as the initial equilibrium. So this is E naught. Yeah. So in this E naught kind of situation, we are having Y naught total output, or let's say total, the national income of a country. So it is basically a situation of underemployed situation, underemployment. Similarly, not only underemployment, but it is of very low national income. It is a level of very low national income, whereas we are having a situation of recession. So what exactly monetary policy or the RBI does is that it tries to follow expansionary monetary policy by reducing the CRR, that is the cash reserve ratio, the statutory liquid ratio (SLR), and repo rate, and so on and so forth. So basically, all these measures are done in order to increase the money supply in the market. So MS, it gets increased. So as the money supply gets increased, we can see this curve, basically this LM naught, this curve, it gets shift from LM naught to LM1, that is right side. There we can see a shift towards right side, that is LM1. So as this LM1 curve, it got shifted, we can see the intersection between the IS as well as the LM1 at a point which is denoted by R1. So this is interest rate R1. So this R1 interest rate, it is the interest rate of India's RBI, India's interest rate. Okay. Now, if we clearly, if we see here, observe this carefully, we can see that this uh, R1, it is far less than the world's interest rates. World's interest rates. So here we have seen a situation wherein our interest rate, it has gone down, despite the fact that the growth in our country, it got increased to say about Y1, that is from Y0 to Y1. Our interest rate has fallen from R0 to R1. So as the interest rate has gone down, now what will happen is that there will be increase in the money supply in the market. Since the cash reserve ratio is low, SLR is low, the commercial bank, it will lend the loans to its customers at a very less interest rate. So now what happens is that the private players come into play, and then they start in borrowing this money, and then they start investing in some ventures. They invest in some infrastructure thing, in real estate industry or manufacturing industry. So because of this, the investment gets boost. So we know that our equation y is equal to in our equation y is equal to c plus I plus g plus some say x minus m. So this is the equation of total output of a country in a four sector model, wherein we are having export, imports, as well as the investments too, consumption and government investments. So we can see this factor, this I, it gets increased, and because of this, what happens is that the aggregate demand, the AD curve, it shifts, it gets increased, and thus as the AD curve increase, the employment, it gets increased. So people get more and more employment. So we will get out of the situation of underemployment, and thus the purchasing power parity, that is the income of these people, gets increased. So since the income of people have risen, what happens is that the people, they start demanding luxury goods, that is they try to copy the western culture. They try to buy the luxury cars, the washing machines and the, the luxury goods they try to demand. And because of it, what happens is that our imports, basically it gets increased when compared to our exports. So because of this, we know that there are two different accounts in balance of payment. The first one is the current account balance, while the second one is the capital account balance. So as our imports is more when compared to our exports, what we face is the situation of current account deficit in one side, and on the second side, what happened is that as our interest rate it has gone down from say R0 to R1. uh, Now a situation has arisen wherein the foreign investors who have earlier invested in our country, what they do is that they take out their money from our market and then they invest in some other markets, say in US economy, in China or Germany, wherever they find their interest rate is more, they invest their money in those economies so that they can increase their profit. So this is what happens whenever the interest rate of India it falls down. So in this particular situation, we will face a situation of capital outflow, which is also known as a capital plight kind of situation. Since our dollars has gone out, we will face a situation of capital account deficit as well. So now here we are having two different problems and two very very horrendous kind of situation we are facing, wherein we will have both capital account deficit and current account deficit. Thus our balance of payment account it will be deficit in nature. So because of these two reasons, our balance of POP will be deficit. Now, what RBI does is that it chips in again, and what it tries to do is that it intervenes RBI. Since there is a demand of foreign goods and luxury, and there is a balance of payment deficit in order to correct the foreign exchange reserves. What it tries to do is that it tries to sell the dollars and it tries to buy the rupee. So now what happens is that the money which is in the public, in the Indian economy, in the hands of in the Indian public, now it comes back to the RBI. Now because of this, we can see RBI will have a contractionary kind of. This is very much similar to contractionary kind of policy, wherein most of the money from the public it gets transferred to the RBI itself. Therefore, now money supply in the market it gets decreased. Because of this, what happens is that the MS it gets decreased. Okay, so now what happens to this LM curve? This LM curve, as the MS it gets shrinked, this LM it again LM1 curve it again bounce back to its earlier stage, wherein we'll have a LM not curve. So in this situation, what we see is that we have again come back to a situation wherein our interest rate is R naught. It is the same as the earlier phase. Similarly, our situation will be wherein our output as well as our employment, everything will be remain constant. Therefore, we are in a situation of underemployed once again. So what exactly this has happened due to this expansionary monetary policy is that wherever we were earlier, as our equilibrium it depicts, we are in the same situation even after increasing our money supply. So therefore we can say that expansionary monetary policy, basically in a fixed exchange regime, it is ineffective in nature. Ineffective in nature. Now this same scenario, this could be correlated to a situation of 1929's Great Depression. The situation of 1929 Great Depression, wherein the central bank of America it chipped into this kind of situation and it tried to encourage them, increase the money supply by reducing the CRR, SLR, and so on and so forth. So even after increasing the money supply, what happened is that the economy it bounced back to the same situation wherein its output was constant, and they again faced a situation wherein they didn't come out of the situation of unemployment kind of situation, that is the recession phase. So what Keynes he suggested is that instead of following expansionary monetary policy, if the country follows expansionary fiscal policy, then they can come out of this situation, this recession kind of situation. So this is in a short about how expansionary monetary policy works in a fixed exchange regime. So coming to the next topic, that is expansionary physical policy in a fixed exchange region. We'll be discussing the same thing in the next class. So thank you everyone.